Well, that was a lovely way to cap off the group stage, wasn't it? 2-0 Georgia. Who saw that coming? I definitely didn't. But it was a fantastic performance from Georgia in defence and in the counter-attacking play. They really made it hard for Portugal, helped by a few individual errors that cost Portugal throughout the game. But still impressive for Georgia. And I know people will say that this is Portugal's second team, but bar Kvaratskhelia and bar Marmarashvili, how many of that Portugal team get into that Georgia team? The answer is quite a lot. So the idea that it's Portugal's B team, we've been going on about how good their depth is. These are all top players and still couldn't overcome the mighty Georgia, who are in here in name form. I've completely abandoned my God and my understanding of English to put some of these names together, but here we are. Don't expect me to recite all of them. I only went with number 25 and number 7 because those names I know from watching European football, but I'll still give them the respect and credit they absolutely deserve from that game. Tactically, we'll go over them in defence first. Okay, so Georgia was sat in a 5-3-2 shape throughout the entirety of the game, and they were so hard to break down. The understanding of the formation, the knowing of when to engage in the press, where the triggers were, was excellent on all accounts. If Portugal tried to go down the wide areas and try and look for the wide player that's showing for the ball, the wing back on that side would push up. You get the midfield 3 covering across as well, so it would end up turning into a bit of a 4-4-2. If they tried to penetrate down those wide areas, it was very responsible. They left very little gaps in between players horizontally, and they'd cover brilliantly. It would force the ball to have to go back to the defenders and recirculate around to the other side, where the defence would quickly shift across. And that's one thing this Georgia team did fantastically. Always on the move, very alert to any danger, very alert to the space that opened up, and didn't allow themselves to get pulled apart too easily. And Portugal did not move the ball at all well enough, that has to be said, in these situations. So when Georgia had to go from one side of the pitch to the other and settle back into the shape on the other side, it was easy for them to do so, just because Portugal weren't in any rush with their passing. But just quick shifts across. The distances between the back 3 and the back 5 were brilliant from a Georgia point of view. They really lessened any impact from the players in these more advanced areas. Dallo would push in a little bit more as the inverted player, allowing Conte Sarr to go out into the wide area. Ronaldo as the striker, João Felix as the left-sided 10. João Felix would typically tend to go a little bit wandering. He'd drop in a little bit more. He didn't get involved in the game as much. Again, Georgia, just that lovely bit of compactness in between defence and midfield. And because of the nature of the fact that they were playing with a midfield 3 and Portugal are inverting wing backs into the centre, they have a centre midfield base and Polina and Neves, there was a potential for them to get outnumbered, especially if the wide centre backs moved forward with the ball. But they would stay in shape, they'd stay deep, they'd stay narrow, they'd stay compact, and the back 3 did a really good job of man-marking the players who played between the lines. So let's just say it's these 3. If, say, this space had opened up on this side between the midfielders and Felix was looking to receive the ball in this area, you'd have the right centre-back pressing him and looking to stop that ball going into him. They were aggressive, they were intent. Portugal didn't have any real time to turn, and so that meant that João Felix would either have to pass backwards or move backwards, and if it got to a certain point where the danger was gone, the player would quickly move back and the rest of the midfield 3 would cover around, so it would force Portugal to start again. So they were so alert to that space, so alert to any moments in between that back 3, and their marking of the front 3 was excellent, and full credit to them. They just understood the space they needed to take care of brilliantly in that sense. And I don't want to leave out the front 2 as well, because they left very little space in between them and the midfielders. So Portugal didn't really have a lot to play in. But were they helping themselves out in that regard? No. The answer is no. It has to be said. Now, when you're playing in a back 3 in possession against a compact deep block that Georgia have, your tempo is set by the wing backs, because they're typically the players that bring it out of defence. And so many times, Inacio in particular would bring it up from left centre back to then look for the options in front of him, to which there were none. Everyone's standing, nobody looking like they're interested. There's a real poor level of body language, and I'm going to show a couple pictures at the end of this. And it just meant that he was playing the easy pass constantly. When you're driving into this space, when you're becoming that extra man, he wasn't driving well enough either. He wasn't, like, I'm using the word driving, but he wasn't driving into space. He was just almost arriving into it accidentally. That's just kind of the vibe that was being felt from it. And just the staticness, Players not really showing interest, not really showing for the ball, not really making movements that created space for others. And as a result, it just felt sideways, it felt backwards, and Portugal could not break down this Georgia team. Full credit to Georgia, regardless of whether Portugal turned up or didn't. They still defended excellently and they limited what Portugal had to play with. Getting an early goal helps because it means you can sit back and you can restrict the space a bit more. But fantastic level of discipline, fantastic performance from all 11 of those players. And I'll give a special shout out to the number 25 Valencia goalkeeper. Yes, I'm bottling the name, give me a break. But excellent performance, dominated his area, held on to everything, caught what needed to be caught, and top draw shot stopping. Fantastic performance. The keeper of the tournament so far, it has to be said, and full credit to him. But we're going to go over and isolate the 2 goals now. We know how Georgia kept him out. How did they win the game though? And it was through some serious individual mistakes from Portugal. So let's go to it now. Okay, so we're going over the first goal. Antonio Silva was tasked with bringing the ball out from his right centre-back position, as Ignacio was on that left-hand side. Now, as you can see here, João Neves is showing for the ball deep. You've got João Palhinha in between himself and Ignacio, who's at the bottom of the screen, if you can just see him there. And he was the safe option. He was the option to recycle it from side to side. João Neves is just that option to try and play it between the lines. If you look at this picture here, you can see that Silva is motioning Neves to move upwards. He's asking to push himself a little bit further on, push that Georgia back line back so he has a cleaner passing angle elsewhere. Palhinha, for whatever reason, decides to make a movement forward and go to that space. And look, that space has opened up and he feels the need to attack it. I don't quite know why. I didn't think that was a good use of his quality. I know I was saying before about players not making enough space and arriving into it, but look at all the players coming for the ball. One of them surely just could make that little bit of a movement. Palhinha doesn't. Silva's unsighted because he's in conversation with João Neves. And you'll see in the next picture that João Neves has pushed a bit further on. Palhinha has made the movement in behind him. And to be fair to Antonio Silva, Palhinha is always constantly in João Neves' eye line. João Neves has brought the marker back, which is Kvaratskhelia. He's then gone to make the easy pass into this area here, thinking that Palhinha would still be within that position to receive the ball and recycle it. He's not looked up. I'm not trying to blame other people for Antonio Silva's mistake, by the way. It's his silly error. He should look up and he should stay concentrated. But it just feels like a real unnecessary sequence of events that led up to it. It makes a poor pass. The top scoring striker picks up the ball in the centre of the pitch. He's now got space to run into. Silva's playing catch-up with Kvaratskhelia. He's got nowhere near the pace that he does. And Georgia create that chance, pass down that channel, and he scores 1-0. Very good at counter-attack and play from Georgia, very alert, very aware of the danger, but just a real lack of communication and concentration from those players for Portugal, and just cost them a goal within 2 minutes. And the game was set from that point on, really. The game was then played at Georgia's tempo, with them staying deep and controlling the game off the ball, I thought. But really poor from Portugal to open the game up. And the second goal doesn't fare any better. And there's so many mistakes in the second goal, I don't even know where to start, but I'm going to try. Okay, so the first mistake is Ignacio on this side. Now, the ball's ricocheted off the midfielder into the attacking player there. I think it's Mikatadze. Ignacio is, as you can see, he's side on with him at this point. Nothing really wrong with his body position. He could arguably be a bit more side on facing Mikatadze, but he isn't. Again, nothing wrong with that. He's given himself an extra yard. The only issue is once that ball then gets played into Mikatadze, and it's a bit of a ricochet, so maybe Ignacio's trying to set himself then, thinking that the ball's going to get cleared. He doesn't. He then turns the other way, as Mikatadze has already made that run. So Ignacio's having to adjust his body position to then run into the space that Mikatadze has already got the beating off him. Just look at the difference in the lean. He's on that, he's ready to pounce, and he's gotten in behind Ignacio. Now, another mistake. He then gets the ball, plays it to the right wing back. Neto, who's playing left wing back, goes over to press the player on the ball. But then when he gets close to the player on the ball, who's ready to put in a cross, that's going to be his first time action. Neto pulls out, very weak. It's very poor look in terms of... It's just pathetic, really. I mean, to get that close to the player and then get scared of the challenge. I know he's not a wing-back, Neto. He's being played massively out of position, which is, again, something you can hold at Martinez's door. But, I don't know. You've got to show a bit more bottle than that. Cross goes in. Danilo makes a hash of it. Silva gets attracted to the run of Kvaradona. And the ball just whistles through the entire box. Silva gets a nick in it, and it ends up almost going out for a corner kick. Diogo Costa keeps it from going out, stops it, and keeps it in play. You Could argue in hindsight he should have let it go out, but again, that's maybe one that's easy to say in hindsight. Did he feel like that was a corner worth conceding? Because they were a threat from set pieces. There was some really good delivery for Georgia. So I'm not going to hold the blame too much at his door for that. And as you can see, João Neves gets the ball now, looking for a player to pass it forward. As you can see, there's a player bottom right. I can't quite work out who that is from this picture. But there's an easy pass to play into there to try and get him on the counter-attack and get the ball forward. Getting it out of danger, because as you can see, there's players pouncing. He doesn't, holds on to it again. He still has an opportunity where he can clear it upfield. Now he's got 2 players on him, he needs to get rid of it. And what does he do? He decides to turn inside into danger where the ball gets taken off of him, and Antonio Silva takes a wild swing at the player and gives away a penalty. There's so many little individual mistakes there cost them the game in the end. The second goal, you can argue it's maybe a soft penalty, but I think they got exactly what they deserved, Portugal, throughout this entire sequence of play. Take away Diogo Dalot, I don't think there's a player that didn't make a mistake in a defensive sense in that one. So just really, really poor from Portugal. But credit to Georgia, they had to take advantage of the chances when they had them, and they did. Brilliant performance from Kvara. Mkhitaryan as well, showing his composure from the spot. Brilliant penalty right in the corner. And Georgia make history in the Euros. Fantastic performance. And Georgia make history in the Euros. Fantastic performance. The defensive quality was there to see throughout the rest of the game. And they came away with the 3 points they absolutely deserved and have booked themselves a last 16 game. Albeit against Spain, but if you'd have offered them that at the start of the tournament, Jesus Christ, I think they'd have more than taken your hands off. But I'd love to know what you guys think. Cheers for watching. In a bit, lads.